our own Nefesh HaBahamis and Guf by training ourselves to replace and to transform our physical attractions and addictions with the Tainug Eloki, with a divine pleasure. And then the whole world will be affected and will become a keli, and we are using the world. How? With Torah and mitzvahs. And the whole world will become a keli for now, milemala lemata, from above down, will be now the gilui of Or and Sof in this world. And through this, the Yeshus will disappear. That even in the physicality of this world, Or and Sof, the divine infinite presence, will be revealed. Or Yud Gimel Kislev. Im Yirtzeh Hashem, next week, Tuesday is Yutes Kislev, so we are going, Im Yirtzeh Hashem, unless there are objections, we are going to Stern, is there a Nashe program on Tuesday?
Yes, there's an amazing program in the Razag. It's a group, they call it 1 hour women's event, but it's Nashe Chabad. Amazing event.
So that's Tuesday night?
Monday night.
Monday night, good. So Tuesday night is not, good. So Tuesday night, we have our shiur, B'ezrat Hashem, and this is between Yutes and Chav Kislev, and there's no better time to fabring, and therefore, I would like at least a significant part of shiur to be also a fabringing in which you should participate, all of us should participate, and each one of us should share what Yutes Kislev means to you personally. Le'ilu Nishmas, our dear friend Maras Orna Bas Chaim Alea Shalom Ben Tzvi, and she should be Melis Yosher for, I'm sure she's high there in Gan Eden, and she should be Melis Yosher for this group, Begashnius and Beruchnius. Okay, Mashiach now. We are Vehine Kasher Yisbonen Beyaskil. That's what the paragraph starts with, the second paragraph. Vehine Kasher Yisbonen Beyaskil, on page Mem Beis. So on in the first session, we learned about the difference between the creation of Tzura and the creation of Chomer, form and matter. That form was created from the will of Hashem, and the matter of the Nivraim is created from Dvar Hashem, from the speech of Hashem. And we learned a lot about speech and Malchus and how it creates a reality that doesn't recognize its source. And that is why, because Hashem wanted to have a relationship with a world and with people, us, that have free choice, that feel like a yesh, separate from its source, and they choose to be in relationship with Hashem. What is this relationship that Hashem wants so much to accomplish? The Rebbe, this we learn in the second session. That the tachlis of the bria of yesh me'ayin is, and I would say that the second session is still can answer another question that we can have after learning about the creation of the tzura from Ratzon and the matter, the chomer, from Dibur, from Dvar Hashem. So the question is, how come, if this is Hashem wants to have Nivraim that have a sense of Yeshus, of existence, separate, of individual existence, separate from its source, Hashem needs Dvar Hashem, how come the tzura of the Nivraim is not coming from Dvar Hashem as well? And the reason is because of the purpose of creation. And that's what we learned in the second session. That the purpose of creation is, which means that the purpose of the creation, yesh me'ayin, is in order for the yesh to be battled to the ayin. That the nivraim themselves, that feel themselves like a yesh, separate from their source, through Bnei Yisrael, Avodah of Bnei Israel, of Yidden, eventually the entire world, will be transforming the Yesh to Ayin, which means that the entire human race will bring, led by the Jewish souls in bodies, will lead to the world in a condition that the world will remain in existence, but without its Yeshus. Not that the world will disappear, but as before creation, rather the world will remain, but the experience of Yeshus, of isness separate from its source, that will be resolved in a manner that the Yesh is going back to its source and reunites with its source in a conscious and in a chosen way. And that bitul, the Yesh to the Ayin, will enable the Gilui, the revelation of the glory of Hashem, of Kavod Hashem. And this depends on our service. Each one was given a certain amount of years to live in order to do his part in this avodah. And each one, as we discussed at length last time, has its part, and its part is so significant to the extent that Chazal say that everyone should say that Bishvili nivra olam, that the world was created for me. Why? I'm absolutely significant, because the Zohar says that Hashem is not Shore unless be'atar shlim, in a place that is complete. If somebody's portion is not, in the world is not elevated, no matter how big or small it is, and to emphasize the point how small it is, nevertheless, if you're small, if you think that your small portion is missing, it's not a big deal, it is a big deal, because the Zohar says that Hashem cannot reveal himself unless the place that he is supposed to be revealed in is complete. And if your part is missing, it's not. And therefore the Gilui Kvod Havai cannot happen. How do we, what is this avodah based on, as we learned last time? This is boinanus, that we are training our consciousness to really align itself with the fact that אתה הוא קודם משנברא העולם, and אתה הוא אחר משנברא העולם, that the creation of world did not create any change in God whatsoever, and nothing conceals for him. Nothing changed from his absolute oneness and infinity. So what happened? From where is the concealment, and to where, to whom? Is only to us, to our eyes. From our eyes, it looks like the world is a yesh, and Elokus is not an apparent. Godliness is not revealed. Godliness is not apparent. So for us, we are subjected to a condition of Helem and Hester, of concealment when Elokus is not revealed. But for Hashem, the world did not conceal or hide anything. Everything is galui veyadua, and he remains one and absolute and infinite as the world exists, just as he was before it was created. So the concealment, the shift of perspective is only from our perspective, from the Nivraim, from the world, but from Hashem's perspective, up and down, higher and lower, everything is equally the same. And therefore, even now, after the creation of world, everything is really, the truth is that this world that was created is even now, from Hashem's perspective, completely battled to Hashem. Very nice, you come and say. Okay, I'm telling stories to my consciousness. I'm telling stories to my consciousness. What stories? Yeah, that there's no change, that Hashem is not changed, and everything is the same. From his perspective, we are He is one and absolutely infinite, and therefore we are completely annulled in him, and we don't have any separate Metzius whatsoever. Nothing changed. Very nice story, but this is from his perspective. It's nice to know. But from our perspective, it's not like that. There is Helem and Esther. So how do you expect, Hashem, that there should be the Yesh battle to the Ein? So the Rebbe brought the Pasuk, Ki Gadol Havaye Va'adoneinu Mikol Elokim, in Tehillim Kuf Lamed Hei, Pasuk Hei. That Havaya is greater than all Elokim, all gods. Very nice. What is the Chidush? Elokim doesn't mean other gods. It means all the 120 combinations, tirufim, of the name Elokim. Or 100 types of and dimensions of concealments. But the Pasuk says, Gadol Havaya Elokim. Havaya, nevertheless, even though the energy of Shem Elokim is very intense, it's all about covering and concealing and contracting and gvuros and holding back and so on and so forth. However, says the Pasuk, Havaya is greater than Elokim. The energy of Shem Havaya, which transcends these concealments, is greater than Shem Elokim and overpowers the name of Elokim. And therefore the Pasuk says, Ki ani yadati ki gadol. Who is ani? Knesset Israel. Ani is another name of Malchus, of Knesset Israel, of the collective Jewish soul. The collective Jewish soul knows in an intimate way that Havaya is greater than Elokim. Unlike the non-Jews, who their perspective is that Azav Havaya es haaretz, that Havaya left the Aretz. It's not, as we learned last time, that they don't know that there is a creator of Havaya, Yesh Me'ayin. They acknowledge that. But what runs in their, even in the highest minds, in their highest consciousness of a non-Jew, even the highest souls, they can recognize the existence of the name Havaya, but as far as what is involved in this world, those souls can only accept and know that the world is run by the name of Elokim, and the world has its teva, its nature, and there is a certain way it runs. And therefore, Paro said, Lo yadati es Havaya, I don't know Havaya. Not that his Havaya doesn't exist. I don't know Havaya. The one that runs the show here is Elokim. And about Yisro, only after he converted to Yiddishkeit, he proclaims, Ata yadati ki gadol Havaya. Only when he got a Jewish soul, he could have this recognition that Havaya is greater than Elokim, and Kol Asher Chafetz Havaya Asa, which means that whatever Havaya desired came down, even to the world that is of Asiya, that is, so to speak, run by the name of Elokim. And why is it? Because of what we learn, that everything that exists has a form and matter. The matter is Dvar Hashem, has Yeshus, can be subjected to the concealments of Elokim. Because if it comes from Dvar Hashem, which means Malchus, the mouth of God, creates in a manner of Dibur. Dibur is something that a person projects to the outside. So the truth is that nothing goes outside of God, but we feel outside of Him. And that's done through His Dibur. But that's only the Chomer, the matter of our being. However, the form of every creation is not subjected to this tzimtzum of Elokim and is connected to the chefetz and the ratzon of Shem Havaya. And it is not coming to be revealed through Dibur. to Dvar Hashem, rather from Hashem's will. And this is what we learned last time, that Hashem joined the Midas HaRachamim with Midas Hadin. Shitef Midas HaRachamim. And it brings the pasuk from Bereshis. The whole creation is done through Shem Elokim. Vayomer Elokim, Vayihi Or, Yehi Or, Vayihi Or, Vayomer. It's another Elokim, and another, everything is created through Shem Elokim. But at the end is Beyom Asos Havaya Elokim, Shamayim Ba'aretz. Havaya Elokim together, and Havaya first, because of what we learned last time, that Shem Havaya's energy is overpowering the name of Elokim. However, from the non-Jewish soul perspective, is Ayena Elokehem. Where is their God? Their God of Yidden is not in this world. And Yidden answer, Elokeinu b'shamayim kol asher chafetz asa. That this Elokeinu, our God who is b'shamayim, who transcends Teva, who transcends Seder Ishtalshelus. Nevertheless, and he is even Chefetz, which is Keser, which is infinite, Lemala min HaTeva, is not subjected to the Tzimtzumim, to the restrictions of Shem Elokim. But Kol Asher Chafetz Havai Asa. It's also here in Olam HaAsiyah, and therefore, every Jew is looking at the world as, and Teva, nature, not as a cemented thing that runs the show. No, a Jewish consciousness is always expecting miracles, as it was when we came out of Mitzrayim, that the waters changed its nature and stood up, and the rock that produced fire produced water, and so all the laws of nature can be changed and transformed and turned over, because even in this world, to the Taina, very nice, Hashem doesn't change from his perspective, but we are subjected to the name, to the concealment. So what does it help? So the answer is, says the Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe, Baal of the coming Geula, the Alter Rebbe says, the truth is that it's not only from Hashem's perspective that there is no change and the supernatural is remaining in its absolute infinite presence. It's also in this world, meaning also from your perspective. If you look at the history of the world, and especially the Jewish history, you see how much the name of Havaya is revealed through the Nisim and the behavior of Teva when it went against its own nature and its own laws.
So, Hannah, that's actually the question that I wanted to ask you, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
So we said that what was the reason that Hashem, that there was the inyan of the Shem Elokim, of the revelation of Shem Elokim and all the Tzimtzum, so that we feel separated and we feel an ego, and then we have the avoda to really reach out and do the avoda and to come to that intimate connection. So now that we're saying that the inyan of Havaya, it's not only that it's from Havaya's side, but it's also from our side, unlike the non-Jews. So then where, we know that we still feel Yeshus, we still see, we still don't see godliness in the world. And I understand that, of course, if we do the avoda like we were saying last week, then we find godliness everywhere. But
okay,
I'm not.
So I would say that your question is leading us right into the third chapter, the third session, which in today, Bezras Hashem, the Rebbe is teaching us how you do it. First, we asked questions about how creation is made. Then we asked for what? Why? because it has a purpose. Fine. Now the Rebbe will teach us how you do it, and that will give you a context in which you can assess where you are holding in this avoida, because the Rebbe will become specific now what the avoida is in the next section, which are really two stages in the avoida, in the serving of the Creator, which are expressed to the Zohar's expression Taim meriru lemiska, which means to taste the sweetness in the bitter things, and hisapcha chashucha lenehoira, and to change over darkness to light. And this the Rebbe will explain how it is reflected in the avoida of men. And if after this, Dina, you will feel that you done that, and you are done with doing it, and it doesn't work, then we will have a discussion.
Okay, I understand that, but the question was different.
I'm sorry, then I misunderstood.
The question was if there was a purpose in hiding, if there was a purpose in making us feel that, that Yeshus and that there's nothing else but us. So what's the purpose in putting Havaya in there? Because then we are connected, and then it kind of like takes away the avoda. Make sense?
Oh,
that if in the matter there is,
it's after all, the name of Havaya is shining through the name of Elohim. So most of the time you don't see that there is nature, there are laws of nature, there are the nature of a person himself that limits him, and so on and so forth. But there are Giluim Mishem Havaya as well, and in itself, Shem Havaya is really greater, and that's why you see that even though you didn't experience, I don't know, allow me to say at least not less and probably more than any other nation, a lot of concealments, nevertheless, you see that we still maintain this miraculous existence. And the Rebbe draws our attention to that. Not, I understand your point. So, if he peeks in, then the game is now spoiled, because now we are not he's like making the game fake, because.
Right, it's like a cheat a little bit.
It's a cheat.
Not that I don't want it, but
because it wouldn't be possible otherwise. If we were only governed by the 120 Tzimtzumim of Shem Elokim, we wouldn't have a chance. And that's the fact that the form, and now we can extend a little bit the term form, because we began simply that form means that everything has its shape. But it also means the spiritual form. This means its purpose. Everything has its shlichus, everything has its purpose of creation, its spiritual form. That is coming from the name of Havaya. And that enables us to really, as the Lashon of the Yom Magbir Tzura Lachomer, to overimpose the form over the matter, in that sense of not allowing the Yeshus of the Chomer to take us away from viewing reality the way it truly is, and therefore not being compromised in our total attachment to God and godliness.
Hannah, can I say something?
Yes, sure.
I think you can bring in the Medrash. When Kodesh Baruch created the world, the Chatchila, he wanted to do it only Midas Hadin, but he saw that it wouldn't be able to exist. That's why he added Rachamim.
The Rebbe brought the Midrash in here.
Yes, so that's the Havaya. If we wouldn't be for a little Havaya, we would be completely lost. We wouldn't be able to break through.
Right. That's exactly what the Rebbe said here. Yeah. Yeah. So now, how it is all reflected, this is Boinanus, that we really need to coin in our consciousness the the perspective that really Shema Yisrael, Havai Elokeinu, Havai Echad, and there's no plurality, there's no duality, everything that exists is vital to Hashem. That's the truth, and we are like the light of the sun in the sun. And it doesn't feel like it. Okay, that's because we are created from Dvar Hashem. But we have a tzura, we have a spiritual form as well as a physical form, and the physical form is aligned with and a keli, the right keli to the spiritual form, that is operating completely in alignment with the divine will. And with the assistance of that power, we are able to begin an avoida. And yes, you're right. It's not cheating. It's an esinas koyach. But without that, as Sterner says, we wouldn't be able to do it. This avoida. It's hard enough with it, even, as we all realize. Maybe you're already done, but.
No. I'm not complaining. You can use some more netinas koach, but.
But let's stick our teeth into what it means. Okay, now theoretically we are more or less, everything sits in its place, which this is for now, and then I don't know if it'll be next time, maybe not. We're going to go into a deep Kabbalistic Hasidic discussion that I hope I will not lose anybody. That's how the Maimar goes, and we will understand the Hashibus of this Chomer, that even though it comes from Dar Hashem and so on, but we will, as Sterner, you always hold this perspective, but let's not underestimate, what you can do with this Chomer. But in any case, let's go to now, והנה כאשר יזבונן וישכיל כל זה האדם. How is it all reflected? How do you reveal Achdus Hashem, the oneness of Hashem, what the Rebbe calls in this Maimar Kvod Hashem, the glory of God, בפועל, in your portion in the world. והנה כאשר יסבונן וישכיל כל זה האדם, when a person will reflect on and will really understand, conceptualize and understand what we learned so far. That really the truth of our existence is that we are still battling the oneness of Hashem, even though we feel separate. And any other perspective than that is not the truth of existence. And when a person really internalizes it, then the outcome would be, if you really internalize this meditation, this understanding, this reflection, then his nefesh will yearn and long to God himself, עד שתחפוץ להתפשט מתענוג העולם הזה, until it will desire to divest itself from all, rather than being invested, to divest itself from all the pleasures of this world, ולהפך ליבו לגמרי, and to turn his heart to the opposite, to the complete opposite, ולדוב כבו, to cleave, to attach himself to God. וכמו שכתוב, מי לי בשמיים כולו. I don't want anyone, not ba'aret, not even in the spiritual, בשמיים, spiritual worlds, not in Gan Eden התחתון, not Gan Eden העליון, that Rebbe taught us to become more and more connoisseurs of this kind of yearning, of this kind of taste, to develop this yearning and to reveal it more and more in our hearts, after reveal it in our minds, that one doesn't want anything, not even the spiritual worlds, the Gan Eden HaTachton, not even the Eden, not even Olam Haba. The soul just wants Atzmus Hashem, God himself. Now, how does it happen? ובזוהר אמרו. In the Zohar they expressed it like this. Man דלותיים הרירו למיסקו, ומהפך חשוכה לנהורה, לייס לחולקה הכה. Anyone who did not taste the bitterness as sweet, and anyone who did not transform darkness to light does not have a portion here, means in Olam Haba, in the ultimate world of resurrection, of the ultimate Geula. שצריך להפוך טעם מריר ולמיסקה. That we have to transform and turn over the bitter taste to sweetness. So from the words of the Zohar it comes out that the avodah of avodas Adam, in order for our service, divine service, to be b'shleimus, to be complete, it has to be composed of two inyanim, two parts. One is to change over bitterness to sweetness, and the other one is to change over darkness to light. At the end of this chapter, the Rebbe will explain that these are really the two inyanim of Ner Mitzvah and Torah Ohr. And now we see how. Look inside. ומרירו הן טייבוס עולם הזה ותענוגים שמושפעים מחלוס הקליפוס. What is מרירו? What is the true bitterness in this world? טייבוס עולם הזה ותענוגים, all the temptations, the desires, the physical worldly desires, and the pleasures, the physical pleasures of this world, and the term physical, you can extend it to any pleasure that involves the ego, that these kinds of desires, attachments, addictions and pleasures are mushpa'im mechalos haklipos. They are nurtured, their energy comes from the sources of klipos, from the divine forces that are opposing or covering up elokus, godliness, kedusha, holiness. שאין לך דבר למטה שאין לו היכל למעלה כנגדו, שממנו בא תוצאת הדבר ההוא והשפעתו. That you don't have anything down here that doesn't have a spiritual chamber, that it is its counterpart למעלה in the spiritual realm, from which this physical experience is created. So any tainug, any pleasure, any desire, any addiction, any type of energy in this physical world comes from the spiritual chambers of Klippas. I don't know the details, but I would like to know the details of the story, but I think it's told about the Malach, if anybody can add details. The son of the Magid. He was the Chavrusa of the Alter Rebbe. And they used to call him the Malach because he was so holy that he had an eating problem. What is everything that exists here? What is food made of? Domem, tzomeach, everything here is what? Is the waste of the Malachim, was the waste of the higher sources, the higher Hechalos. So when he was so holy that when he looked at food, he looked at it like the explication of the Malachim. That's what he saw. So he couldn't eat it. He was repulsed by it. So the Maggid had to do something about it and to help him so he could eat. So that's how delicate he was. That's how transparent he was. So the idea of finding the sweet in the bitter, or turning over the bitter into sweetness, meaning changing over the heart of the person from from desiring and longing to the different ta'anugim of this world, whether it is pleasures of the body or pleasures of the ego, just for their own sake. And that is turned over to a yearning and a desiring to be just attached to God and to experience the divine pleasure. The taivos of this world are called meriru, they are called bitterness, because they come from klippos. וכל תענוגי עולם הזה, אפילו קל ואפילו המסלסל בשערו, all the pleasures of this world, even the lightest ones, and even the one who is mesalsel besaro, he's playing with his hair, working on a certain hairdo, I don't know what, putting rollers, I don't know what, whatever it is, and doing it for the sake of beautifying itself, himself, herself. It's not about in any connection to God. The energy of that action, of silsul besarov, to roll his hair, is coming from the chambers of impurity. There are chambers of kedusha and there are chambers of tumah that Hashem created. And the chayus in the Tanugim Gashmim is coming from the chambers of tumah, of impurity. ולכן, and they make a big impression. ולכן, נענש יוסף בשבתו בביס האסורים י' בייס שנה, על שהיה מסלסל בשערו. And therefore Yosef a tzaddik. And we know that Hashem is very strict with tzaddikim. And Yosef was a very high tzaddik. He was so high that his brothers, as we learn, could not recognize him. His spiritual level was so high that he could be running the empire to these most gashmius elements and be completely one with God, Das Elyon. Nevertheless, at least before he reached that level, he was punished, sitting in prison for 12 years. 12 years. Al she'aya misalsel bis'aro, we are told. Just because he was mesalsel in his hair. He was, how do you call it? He was...
Maybe rolling?
Curling his hair. כדאיסא בגמרא, על פסוק ויהי יוסף יפה תואר ויפה מראה. As it says in the Gemara about the pasuk that Yosef was Yefeh Torah, Yefeh Mareh. His mother also was called like that. Yefeh Torah means beautiful body features, Yefeh Mareh, beautiful face. But we are told in the Gemara that he was busy beautifying himself, and immediately as he was doing that, but Isayesh Adanav, Edeneash, the wife of his master, started giving him a hard time. 12 years. וצריך להפוך ליבו לטעום ממש למיסקה. טעמו וראו כי טוב הוואי, אז תסענג על הוואי. And we have to turn around our hearts mamash to the extent that we feel the sweetness of Havai, the sweetness of Elokus. Ta'amuru, taste and see, kitov Havai. Az tis'anag al Havai, you feel oneg, you feel tainug. Until you feel tainug in Elokus. That the oneg in Elokus, in godliness, is so great, is as if he's tasting it. וזה היה עניין הקורבנות, שנהפך חלב מנפש בהמה ועולה ונכלל באש שלמעלה, אשר תאכל על המזבח ליוס אש ריח ניחוח להווי. And this is the inyan of the sacrifices, which we know that the Beis HaMikdash brought a lot of simcha to Hashem. That what is the korban representing, what is the sacrifice representing, this turnover of the heart. That נהפך חלב מנפש בהמה, the fat of the animal, and also from the fat represents tainug, represents pleasure. When a person has a lot of pleasure, you can see the fat builds up. So the fat represents pleasure. So it's the fat of the animal, also the pleasures of the nefesh habahamis, the animalistic soul. ועולה ונכלל באש שלמעלה. And that fat of the animal was now ascending and included in the divine fire on the mizbeach, on the altar. אשר תאכל על המזבח, that this divine fire is now consuming the fat of the animal. להיות אש אישי ריח ניחוח להווי. To become a fire which becomes a satisfying and pleasure-giving good fragrance that Hashem delights in. So again, the spiritual aspect of the sacrifice, and we have the chelev is one aspect of the here, the Rebbe doesn't discuss it, but the chelev is one aspect, as we learned already, the Ma'amar was Tefillah that we never finished, hope to finish one day, Bezras Hashem, that the chelev is representing the tainug, and also there was the zrikas hadam ala mizbeach, the throwing of the blood on the mizbeach, which the blood means the chayus that is invested in our worldly addictions and pleasures. So chelev, this fat, represents this tainug of this world, nefesh habahamis and the guf, and we need to transform them to kedusha, like a physical korban that is burnt in the fire and becomes included in the divine fire on the mizbeach, on the altar. That counteracting and instead of the tainug, in being invested in the pleasures of this world, his heart now will be inflamed with a thirst and yearning to cleave to Hashem, and to the extent that that is the only becomes his only source, one's only source of pleasure. וכמו כן תהיה התפילה. And like as the korbanos represent this transformation, this transforming the bitterness to sweetness, so too the tefillah, davening, tefillah comes against instead of the korbanos. For now, soon it will be, we have the korbanos back, בעזרת השם, but כמו כן תהיה התפילה, שהיא במקום הקורבנוס. That the tefillah is instead of the sacrifices, להלהיב נפשו באש שלמעלה, ולהתענג על הווי. Tefillah is there in order to inflame and arouse and awaken one's soul with a divine flame, with a holy flame, with the flame of divinity, and to mit'aneg, to find his pleasure, to seek and to find the pleasure on Havai. That the islavus of his heart and nefesh habahamis has to be included in the passion of the divine soul, of the nefesh elokis, until the nefesh habahamis will feel pleasure in coming closer to Havai. So this is one thing. This is the first stage. The first stage is to transform bitterness to sweetness. That's the first requirement. Also the first stage. You cannot get to the second before you have the first. Now we're coming to the second aspect of Avodas Hashem that the Zohar specifies. Hisapcha chashucha lenehora. The transforming of darkness to light. Ve'inyan hisapcha chashucha lenehora hu. The idea of transforming darkness to light is שחושך הגשמי של עולם הזה, מעשה שמיים וארץ, שנראים ליש בדבר גשמי, יספך לנהורה. That ultimately, Dina, we will see, which means that the physical darkness of this world, which is the מעשה שמיים בארץ, the workings of heaven and earth, which means דבר Hashem that creates heaven and earth, that has a yeshus, שנראים ליש ודבר גשמי, that they look, even the spiritual worlds, they are not one with Hashem, they are higher, they are closer, but the malachim, they are their own beings. They feel also separate from God on their level. שנראים ליש ודבר גשמי, but especially the beings in this world that look like a yesh and something gashmi, physical, all these יספך לנהרה. All these should be turned over to light. להיות בו גילוי אור אין סוף ברוך הוא. That anything that is called choshech, the choshech hagashmi, that which the gashmi is so noted by, that it appears as an existence, physical one, individually existing of its own, separate from its source. All these should be transformed to light, meaning that anything in this world will become now a keli, the vessel, for Gilui Or Ein Sof Baruch Hu, for the revelation of the infinite divine light, infinite divine presence. Liyos hayesh batel elav yisbarach. That anything that is a yesh, or the yeshus of anything, will be now annulled to him. V'nigla, and then we have the condition of the geula. V'nigla kvod havai lemata kmo lemala. And at that point, the glory of God will be revealed down here just as it is above in the highest realms. So the first thing is really to elevate our own Nefesh HaBahamis and Guf by training ourselves to replace and to transform our physical attractions and addictions with the Tainug Eloki, with the divine pleasure. And then the whole world will be affected and will become a keli, and we are using the world. How? With Torah and mitzvahs. And the whole world will become a keli for now, milemala lemata, from above down, will be now the gilui of Or Ein Sof in this world. And through this, the Yeshus will disappear. That even in the physicality of this world, Or Ein Sof, the divine infinite presence, will be revealed. והיינו, שעל ידי בחינת תאים הרירו למיסקה שהוא ממטה למעלה, through transforming the bitterness to sweetness, which is really an avoida works that you have to do from below up, to refine oneself, to refine oneself, to refine myself, to control oneself, to refine oneself, to develop the taste in the higher tanugim, and all the way to transforming all our attachments to one thing, which is God Himself. להפוך ליבו ותאווס עולם הזה, to turn over his heart and the desires of this world, לדבקה בו יזבח, ותשוקה בצימה ונחולו. To now be in a mode of cleaving to Hashem, of yearning to be, and the thirst to come closer and closer to Hashem Himself. And that through doing that stage, the first stage of transforming bitterness to sweetness, then Ya'ir Or Havai milemala lemata. Then the light of God will shine from above down to the below, במקום החושך של העולם הזה, in the place of darkness of this world. The divine presence will be now revealed. שלא יהיה העולם מעלים אור הוואי וקדושתו. That now the world will not conceal anymore and not hide anymore the light of Hashem and His kedusha, His holiness. So again, the point of difference between these two inyanim of the Zohar, which is to taste the sweet in the bitter, is and the change the darkness to light, is the first one is really elevating the person milamata lemaila, that he detaches himself from the attachments to this world, all the wrong attachments, and he turns his heart to cleave to Hashem, and then transforming darkness to light. It's the outcome that there will be Gilui Or Ein Sof in the place of darkness, milemala lemata. It's hamshacha. It's not ha'ala. It's not elevating. It's just bringing down hamshacha, the Gilui Elokus from above down. And this is the seder, the order of these two inyanim in the Zohar. First of all, the changing the bitter to sweet, and then the changing of the darkness to light. Because in order to accomplish and to effect this kind of revelation, that the glory of Hashem should be revealed milamala lemata, it has to be preceded by changing the bitterness to sweetness. When a person elevates himself and from below up and refines himself, that enables himself to become a keli for the light of Hashem to illuminate him and the choshech of this world, that he doesn't cover up and doesn't conceal Elokus anymore. וזהו גם כן עניין נר מצווה בתורה אור. This is also the inyan of ner mitzvah בתורה אור. ner mitzvah היא בחינת העלה ממטה למעלה. So the whole avodah of Yiddishkeit is represented by these two things. Ner mitzvah v'Torah or, the candle mitzvah, candle of mitzvah, and the Torah of light. So ner mitzvah is like a candle, ha'ala milamata lamala, consuming, refining the below and bringing it up, like a candle that takes the oil and burns it and brings it, being consumed by the fire. ותורה אור היא בחינת המשכה מלמעלה למטה. And the Torah Ohr is המשכה from above down. ועל ידי, and the seder of the Zohar is, that על ידי בחינת נר מצווה באור התורה. Through the ner mitzvah, you can come to the light of the Torah. You begin to understand the first question in the first session that we had. How come the mezuzah is on the right side, and the ner and the Torah, the menorah is on the left side? So the menorah is connected with Torah Ohr. The mezuzah is connected with ner mitzvah. So now we can already begin to understand. In any case, this is the inner meaning of ner mitzvah v'Torah Ohr, and proceeding, first bringing ner mitzvah before Torah Ohr. Shouldn't be the other way around? First of all the mitzvahs come from the Torah. It should be Torah Ohr and ner mitzvah, because it's only with the Torah that we understand and know what the mitzvahs are. Without the Torah, we wouldn't do any mitzvah. And also, if Torah is Ohr, which is a big light, as the Shalah says, it's a big torch, like a big flame, huge torch, like a bonfire, like a big, huge fire. And mitzvah is a candle. So Torah should be mentioned first. No, candle is mentioned first. Why? Because really the Rebbe will explain that when we say Torah Ohr, the light of Torah, Torah Ohr, the light of Torah, doesn't refer to Limud Torah, to the learning of the Torah. It refers to the Or Eloki, to the divine light that is revealed when we learn Torah, or through Torah. As we know, Oraisa Bekudsha Brichu Kulachad, our Torah is one with God. And therefore, through the Torah, Elokus is revealed, the Or Ein Sof. And in order for this light to be revealed, Or Ein Sof, to be revealed through the Torah, and revealed down here lemata, we need to remove first all the concealment and the yeshus, the gashmius of this world. And therefore, this is the first, it has to come first. This is the inner tochen of the doing of the mitzvahs. First, we do have to do ner mitzvah, the ala milemata lemaila, elevating from down up and refining first, purifying and elevating the gashmius. That most of the mitzvahs involve gashmius matters and objects, time and space, either with one own body or other objects that he uses from the world and so on. And that includes everything, things he eats, things he wears, houses he lives in, everything. All the mitzvahs are, most are physical, practical mitzvahs that are done with physical object. And this Kiyum mitzvah is by a physical act that a person invests his physical energy from his nefesh habahamis and his physical body in the mitzvah, and through this one refines and elevates the gashmius of the body, the gashmius of the nefesh habahamis, and now using their koichos to avodas Hashem through this physical thing with which the mitzvah is done. And because of this, mitzvahs are compared to ner. Like ner, when it says in the Torah, also in the Mishnah, it says ner. Ner doesn't mean only the flame. It means the whole keli, the whole vessel with the oil, with the wick, and with the flame. That's a ner. That's called a ner. And ner mitzvah means that the mitzvahs are done by just as a candle takes the oil and consumes it through the wick, and now it's consumed in the flame. It elevates it through the wick. It gets elevated into the flame and consumed in the flame. So too, all the mitzvahs are elevating, whether the nefesh habahamis or the guf or any object of this world, and eventually all time and space to be now elevated to become refined vessels that contain the presence of Or Ein Sof. And then comes Torah Ohr. That the light, the elokus of Torah Ohr Ein Sof can now dwell in the world. And in next time in Mirz Hashem, the Rebbe is explaining it in a very deep level, Kabbalistic explanation, not so much Kabbalistic in terms of Kabbalistic terms, but in terms of through the mashal of oisios. It's not only the mashal, but the idea of oisios, that actually there is in the Maila, in oisios of the Torah is made of letters and concepts that are held in the letters. And the letters have a higher source. And so too the letters of tefillah, of our words of davening. The letters themselves, the physical letters, and the letters themselves of the tefillah have a maila, have an advantage and a higher source over the kavanah of tefillah even. Wow. And that will explain how come the ner mitzvah is the condition that without that Torah cannot be Torah Ohr. Okay, stay tuned in Mirz Hashem. Next time we'll bring on Yud Tes Kislev and Chav Kislev and continue to learn from the Alter Rebbe Baal HaGeula.